for the week. And basically, these sessions are just about talking about what happened in the news or things that made the headlines that affect your pocket and how you should position yourself for it. So, first of all, if you're dialing in or listening in, please just drop in the chat box where you are listening in from and confirm that you can hear me because we had that issue last week. And of course, it's every week for 15 minutes, so it runs by quite quickly. Um, so we'll start with global news, like what's happening, what happened, what was in the news last week that you should be taking note of. The first thing in the global news was that a group in the Senate of the United States is pushing for a ban on lawmakers investing or buying stocks, right? And basically, what they're saying is that because regulators are, or no, lawmakers are privy to information before everyone, or they are privy to a depth of information that most people would not have, then those investment decisions are basically tailored or colored by the information that they have. And so they are saying that if you're a lawmaker, then first of all, you can't buy new stock, and then you're now required to what's it called to sell by a certain time, right? And they are pushing for it, and they are pushing really hard. Now, what are our thoughts around it? This is just, I mean, one of the things I need to understand is that politics and economics are like you can't escape from politics if you want to control the economy, if you want to run the economy, if you want to run a strong business. Politics is just it. Now, just imagine as a lawmaker, some people are pushing that the way you've been trading um, needs to stop. In fact, and it even affects their immediate family members, their siblings, like people within their immediate circle. However, it does not affect Congress staff, like that means the staff of the lawmakers, at least for now. Now, what do we think about this? The first thing is that it appears to be justifiable because of the kind of information that they have. You can't rule out the fact that they have a lot of material, non-public information, and they're taking advantage of it, right? But as individuals, should they be able to invest? Yes, they should. I don't know. It's one of those things where I'm sure there's some data to back it, and so we have to see how it pans out, and if the Senate, who will be affected by it, would actually pass the law, and all. And I mean, we'll be keeping an eye on that to see how that pans out. Now, the next thing out of the U.S. is that President Biden has announced some additional tariffs. So we had previously talked about it, where the U.S. president had increased tariffs by over 100% on goods coming out of China. And it was because they're trying to preserve their economic security. And they're saying that China is producing very cheap stuff and their own local producers cannot compete. So if you want to bring in goods from China for some specific things, even things like EV, I can't remember what they're called, but like there's some things that they use it for EVs and all that will be affected. So even things that affect the green economy and the future of the world per se and all. And they put a ban or they put like 100% tariff on it. Now, what does this one now mean? They are basically saying that what something that people tried to do as a bypass was to to go through Mexico, so it's not coming directly from China. So they are saying if it's produced in China, but it's coming from Mexico, that yeah, we're still going to slam in some tax. Yeah, basically they're plugging the holes and they're making sure that their own local producers and local manufacturers are defended. Now, you may or may not like it from a consumer perspective. It doesn't serve the local residents of the United States. Why? Because we're saying that China could bring something in cheaper, but I'm going to have to pay more because of economic security. However, from an economics perspective and a manufacturing data and a progress of the economy perspective, I dare say that the leaders of the United States are probably doing their job. The question is where will they find the balance, and we'll watch out to see how far they go with that. Um, I just want to say also, I forgot to mention that, oh, I'm using a different location, right? So if you are um, wondering where we are. We're in a different location today, and we're making it work. So there might be some background noise. Please disregard. There's almost not much we can do about it, but we just need to show up. Um, then another thing I also need to highlight is that this is powered by the Money Week Club. You might want to check us out, the Money Week Club. We have major conversations around the economy, investing, investment deals, and stuff in the club. So check us out if you don't know about us already. And also sign up to our free newsletter. It has information that will be of value to you and your pockets. Now let's move on to Africa news. Africa, and there wasn't much like really impactful news out of Africa in the past week. But one thing I wanted to highlight was the fact that Kenya, the young people of Kenya are moving and shaking things, right? Because um, somehow or the other, after the Twitter space or the X space event, the president came out and announced that after doing an appraisal of his ministers and stuff, he basically just sacked everybody from like everybody and just left like two or three people and stuff. I mean, that is good from one angle because it's a deepening of the policy for them because they are basically um, saying that they have a government that listens to them, which is good. However, from a transition, I imagine if you are supposed to get a document signed and there's just that halt, and all, such that I like the fact that the president is listening. It's good. But then this whole system structure, stability, right, kind of thing, and due process, and being able to say that you have quarterly appraisals, and if you don't meet up with this by this time, you know what is going to happen. Those are the things that make people, that enable people to plan. So it is, whilst it is good, because I mean it's fantastic that they have a leader that is listening, that is taking action and might be sincere in really wanting to make things move forward, and probably is sincere, not might be, you know so but then the stability of things is also an important thing. It's also something you would need to consider when you're investing in the country. How really do you have meetings with a minister today and he's supposed to sign something tomorrow, and then this night he gets fired? Think about it from that angle. However, I believe that the political scene and the democracy of Kenya is deepening, and so I'm excited to see for them, and we look forward to new ministers. We look forward to the civil service stepping up, because that's also it. The reason why you should be able to do these things is because the civil service should be working, right? So we look forward to that, and then look forward to a bigger economy in Kenya. Yeah. Any thoughts around that? I'm looking to see any comments on that. And then finally, out of Nigeria, Access Holdings explained why its issued share price is higher than market price. Now, there's been a lot of news. There's been Fidelity share price, share offer, the rights issue, and then the public offer. Then there's GTB, a slice of orange, and then Access Bank. Now, people have been asking which one. Join the club, will tell you which one you should. Otherwise, give our trouble. But no, yeah, join the club. We have these discussions back and forth where reiterating and rethinking, and more information is coming out, and people are making their decision on the go, comparing one to another. Now, what is this whole noise about explaining why share price is higher than market price? Now, so on a normal day, if a company wants to issue shares, there are two things they can do, right? It's public shares, right? They can just issue it to the public generally, or they can do rights issue. Issuing to the public directly is that anybody anywhere just come and buy my shares, right? And I'm in exchange for those shares, I am raising capital, you are investing in the company, you're a co-owner of the company, or you're part owner of the company. But there's another way where they could do a rights issue. A rights issue is basically saying that only existing investors of the company, in this case the bank, can buy more of the shares of the bank. Right now, why do they do that? Sometimes because you're raising fresh capital, but if, for example, I the value of the capital was 100 naira or $100, and I invested 50, it means I'm a 50% owner of the company. But if you raise first capital and you open it up to other people, then maybe by the time you get to 200, I will just be 25%, have 25% ownership. So what they're saying is if you are a current investor and, for example, you are a 50% owner of the company, we're only going to give it to people, we're only going to give an opportunity to people who are existing shareholders to buy more of the company, right? That is what a rights issue is on a plain level. However, because this company is already listed on the exchange, right, on the stock exchange, as an investor, I'm looking at if this thing is 50 naira on the stock market and you are telling me to come and buy it at 51 because I'm a right, I'm a previous shareholder, it doesn't make sense to me because it's the same stock. Why don't I just buy it from the market at 50, right? So the chairman, they had a board meeting. They had a meeting and where they were explaining why. So what's happened actually, to put into context, what is happening basically is that Access Bank is saying the market price on the stock market is 10 naira for my stock, but I'm saying come and buy it at 11 naira, and that um we don't really need this amount of money, right? Because based on our numbers, based on our growth trajectory, we can meet our profit numbers without raising this additional capital. That is why we are doing a rights issue, and that's why we are saying that come and bank with us. Now, as an investor, does it really add up? No, not really, from an investor perspective. But I believe that the Access Bank Pro are very confident about what they're doing, and we'll wait to see how much capital they're able to raise using this route. On a general note, what generally tends to happen is that if the market price is lower than the issued or offered price of the same stock, people will buy from the market and keep buying until the price rises to the same level as the issue price, right? And then at that point, you're agnostic whether you go to the market or you go to the right issue, you take up your right issue and stuff. So that's really the way it should be. But we'll have to watch and see how well access does with this, also because almost all the banks are going to be coming to raise capital, right? And so they're not just the only ones standing in isolation. They have competing banks. They have banks competing for the same amount of cash. Now, the final news out of Nigeria. Now, for you, what should you do? Which stock should you buy? Joy in the morning with club will tell you which of these stocks. But like we are having real time conversations around this every day until this season ends in the recapitalization run in Nigerian banking sector. Now, the final news out of Nigeria is that the currency outside banks hits a new all-time high of 3.71 trillion. Now, what does this mean? The currency outside of banks, meaning that people are actually holding cash that is not coming into the banking system. What does that mean? It's actually a lack of trust. It actually says that the trust index in the banking sector is reducing. People would rather hold cash than actually leave their money in the banks, which is not a good sign. That's one. The second impact that it has is that the central bank, when they are creating their monetary policies, don't have tools that can impact the masses. Why? Because if I hold cash, for example, and you are saying that interest rates are at a certain, I am taking interest rates up to 100%. The fact is, that interest rate at 100% has no impact on me and maybe my agile people or my business community, my market women association. Why? Because we are disconnected from the market. We're disconnected from the financial system, right? The technology, like electronic banking and being in the financial system, is important for the central bank to make policies that would impact us as a nation. Now, what does this mean when there is so much cash out of the control of central bank? It's actually why we are where we are right now. Why? Because all the tools, taking up interest rates to fight inflation, all those things, they can't work because 3.7 trillion is in cash. So you take up interest rates for how much? Who are the people that impacted banks, financial institutions, and that's it, right? So when you see this news, understand that number one, inflation is driven by too much cash chasing few goods, right? So when there's so much cash in circulation, number one, there's going to be inflation. It's a signal for inflation, right? That's one. Number two is the fact that there's a vote of confidence, a silent vote of confidence, of no confidence in the economic direction of the country, which is also not good. And number three, it is saying that the central bank is going to struggle to transmit their economic policy to affect everyone so that we can move in a certain direction. Basically, we are saying that the central bank, with this money supply outside of the bank increasing, the central bank is losing more of its control of the economy, which is not a good thing. Um, so basically, for us, right, what should you be doing? Um, I understand how why people are holding cash because there was a cash situation. There is still a cash situation, right? Where cash is being hoarded, which doesn't even make any sense, you know. Or you'll have to get maybe only 5,000 naira or something funny like that, right? Which just doesn't make any sense. And it wasn't like that 2 3 years ago, right? So there's a lot of those things happening, right? So for you, what should you be doing? Understand that inflation is still going to be a thing for a while. That's one. And number two, take action. Meaning, if inflation is going to be a thing for a while, then if you have cash, right, go and bulk buy and just rest. Stop buying in silos and look for ways you can lock in your price, right? However, you can lock in your price so you can plan for a longer period, at least a year. I trust this was useful just to let you know that the economy is tied highly to politics. The economy is not standalone. You have to understand what's happening around you so that you know how it may or may not affect your pocket and position yourself appropriately. Thank you guys so much, and I will see you next week. Bye.